Ballyclare District Historical Memorial Association. The Republican car bomb attack on Lower Donegall Street Belfast in 1972. Do we really believe that the IRA have disbanded, are no longer active? Only this month we heard IRA man Stephen Murney shout at a rally in Newry, "It's not enough to just shout up the Ra, they must join the IRA." In March of this year, DCI John Caldwell was coaching a youth football match when 3 IRA gunmen walked onto the football pitch and shot him in front of his young son. Yet we are being fed the narrative that they laid down their weapons, and we are to believe that the IRA have just disappeared. Over 1,700 innocent victims and survivors have received no justice for the senseless loss they have suffered at the hands of these terrorists. As Sinn Féin IRA grow, we must remind everyone of the destruction they caused, how ruthless they were then, and how ruthless they are today. We must not forget the past, the loss and the suffering by many, for little has changed. It was on the 20th of March 1972 on Lower Donegall Street, a street busy with shoppers, office workers and school children, that the IRA planted and detonated a car bomb. At 11:45, the owner of a local carpet shop had received a phone call warning that a car bomb would be detonated on Church Street in Belfast's city centre. The owner immediately informed the RUC, and alongside the army they began the evacuation, moving everyone towards Lower Donegall Street. A second call 7 minutes later was made to the Irish News newspaper, again warning that a bomb would be detonated on Church Street. At 11:55, another phone call was made to the Newsletter newspaper. They stated that the bomb was now placed outside their offices in Lower Donegall Street, exactly where the crowds were being evacuated to. They were told they had 15 minutes to evacuate the building. The warning came too late for the security forces to clear the street, and the office workers didn't get a chance to evacuate the building before the explosion. A £100 gelignite bomb had been planted in a green Ford Cortina outside the Newsletter building. The force of the explosion thundered through the city centre. RUC constables Ernest McAllister and Bernard O'Neill had been examining the vehicle when the explosion killed them instantly. Only moments before, they had been helping to evacuate the area. Ernest Dugan, James Macklin and Samuel Traynor were bin men in the area, and a fourth man, Sidney Bell, were all killed instantly. Henry Miller, who was also in the area, died from his wounds on the 5th of April. Most of those who died were mutilated beyond recognition. The explosion created a fireball that travelled down the street, tearing through the crowds of shoppers and workers and children who had all been running towards Donegall Street, believing it to be safe. The blast caused all the windows to blow out, showering the crowd in glass, and 100 young schoolgirls lay severely injured in the bloody rubble. 148 people were injured in this explosion, with 19 of them left with life-altering injuries, having lost eyes and limbs, left so severely maimed. A witness at the scene, who had found some body parts of the bin men, described what he saw as bodies were blown everywhere, people were moaning and screaming, the street was full of girls and women all wandering around. One RUC officer stated, "This was a deliberate attempt to kill innocent people. The people who planted this bomb must have known that the people were being evacuated into its path. As the security forces were dealing with the dead and the injured, pulling survivors from the rubble, 2 more IRA explosions had been detonated in the city centre. The IRA, as usual, claimed to have given adequate warning, stating it was the fault of the British security forces that so many civilians had died. The IRA, throughout their murderous campaign, deliberately misled the security forces on locations of their bombs, knowing that innocent people would be evacuated towards the danger, ensuring maximum damages and horrific deaths. Although there had been several arrests, not one person was ever charged for this slaughter of innocents. Sinn Féin IRA should disclose the names of the murdering terrorists that committed this heinous attack on innocent people. So many families have received no justice, instead being encouraged to forget about it all. It's time to move on, leave it all in the past. Sinn Féin IRA are trying to change the narrative, bury the truth, disrespecting the memories of all the families that have lost so much at the hand of the IRA gun and bomb. Our truth cannot be buried, and our history will never be forgotten as we continue to tell the stories of tragedy suffered by so many innocent people who have received no justice, whose voices have been quietened, and whose memories Sinn Féin IRA would love to erase. In memory of Constable Ernest McAllister, aged 31, Constable Bernard O'Neill, aged 36, Ernest Dugan, aged 39, James Macklin, aged 30, Samuel Traynor, aged 39, Sidney Bell, aged 65, Henry Miller, aged 79. Lest we forget. If you're enjoying our channel, please let us know by clicking on the like, share and subscribe icons below. And thank you for your continued support.